Hi guys, this is Emma the Vlog Lady, and it's been a while since I've done a video. My next door neighbours have been renovating the house and it's literally been like this. Hi guys! I've actually tried to make like several videos and it's just been banging or drilling or something. I'm not sure what kind of video that I'd like to do in the future, but today I'm going to do a creepy story video. I don't know why I'm laughing. These stories are 100% true. I have to say that they're about me, but they are completely honest. However, how you take the stories is up to you, and there may be several explanations as to what was going on. These stories are in the same vein as the video that I did last Halloween, in which I recounted my experiences with the Ouija board, my haunted place of work, the fingers in the graveyard. If you want to check that video out, it's on my channel. Today I have 3 more stories. The first one I'm gonna call Chris. Okay, so you probably have seen the movie called Christine, based on the Stephen King story about the killer car. Well, basically that happened to me in real life. So the second car I ever got was a Vauxhall Corsa. It was an automatic. I think they call them Vauxhall Opals in other parts of the world. They are a little car. They are pretty easy car to drive. People in the UK don't generally drive automatics, but because I had been sharing a car with my mother who has a disability, I was used to driving an automatic car, so I got this one. The car was a real bargain. It was less than a year old when I got it, and it had had 2 previous owners, but I didn't think much of that at the time. It was in pristine condition and it was a good price. The first time I took the car out to drive it, I turned the engine on and it was just crazy. It was like a horror movie. I don't know how else to say that. Basically, all the windows went down and the radio came on, and the radio was really loud as well, and I can't remember having turned the radio on or anything. It just turned on by itself. So all the windows went down and the radio was blasting, and I looked at my passenger and they looked at me and I just went, what the heck? At that point I joked, I made a joke like, does this car have an electrical fault that I don't know about? But I just let it go because I liked the car. Subsequently, after that, weird things started happening inside the car. Often when I got in, there would be a smell of black coffee, and I looked in the vents. I tried to clean the vents, the air vents, but there was nothing. There seemed to be nothing spilled. There was no spillages on the seats or anything like that. There was no, it was a used car. There was no spillage on the floor or anything. There was just a smell of really strong coffee in the car. This variated as well with a smell of mint. A very strong smell of mint, and sometimes when I got in it was coffee and other times it was mint, and I couldn't explain that, but I thought it was really weird. So at that point I started calling the car Chris as a joke and as a reference to the Christine Stephen King story. Not long after owning the car, it started to have really bad mechanical faults and it had to go into the garage again and again and again, and once more I was kind of like attached to the car. I really liked it. I liked the way it felt when I was on the road, and I was happy with it, happy with the price. I didn't want to go through the trauma of having to find another car, and the car was also so clean and not rusty or anything that I really wanted to keep this car. So I thought, well, it's just a little thing, I'll fix it and then everything will be okay. But it just kept going on and on and on. So I had the car for about 4 years when I was driving in my town. I was on my way somewhere and I had some music playing. I still remember what I was playing. It was John Mellencamp, R-O-C-K in the USA.
And I was rocking out to it.
And I came off a roundabout and started driving along this long road, and a guy passed on the other side and he flashed me, and so I checked my indicator and the indicator had stuck on. So I turned the indicator off and then I continued on the road, and the sun was shining towards my car and there was a junction on the left, and all of a sudden this guy just pulls out in front of me and I completely take the side off his car, man. It was awful. He got out of the car and he said to me, I thought you had your indicator on. And I'm like, no, I didn't. I knew that I had turned it off way back on the road after the guy had flashed me, and I knew that there was no way it could go back on unless Chris had put it on. You know, I thought long and hard about it. Did Chris really put the indicator on so that this guy would pull out in front of me and potentially harm me? I don't know. I mean, it's crazy to think about. It's crazy, I know. But that's what it felt like, and the car went off to be fixed. The other guy accepted responsibility for the crash, and his insurance fixed Chris. And Chris came back, and I put the engine on, and the fault light came on, and I had to send it back. And it came back, and it was supposedly okay, and the fault light went on, and it was just one thing after another. Basically, at one point, I thought that the garage was sabotaging the car because every time it went in, it came back with something else wrong with it. Eventually, one day, I got in the car and I turned the engine on, and there was this horrible, horrible gurgling sound, and then the car went dead and the engine had died. At this point, stupidly, I decided to get a new engine. It was like a heart transplant for Chris. So I put a new engine in the car, and what happened? 2 months after buying an engine for like the same price as I would have paid for a new used car, it freaking blew up. At that stage, I knew I couldn't do anything else with Chris or for Chris, and I just felt like, to be honest, I really was in a dark place, and I said that I never wanted to drive again. The relationship I had with Chris was so intense, and it really did make me paranoid a little bit. I think that I believed that this car was trying to get me, or there was something not right about it. There was something, maybe, you know, I started looking into it. Why did it have 2 owners in less than a year? What was the smell of coffee? What was the mint? Why did everything malfunction inside the car? Why was it playing music all the time when I didn't have the radio on? Why did the windows go up and down? And why did the lights come on the dashboard and flash all the time? It was just freaky, man. It was just freaky. In the end, the scrap man came and took Chris away, and I was pleased to see the back of him. I really was. Let me know if you've had a similar experience with a car. Do you think this was just a dud, or do you think that my car was possessed? The second story is a bit shorter, and I'm going to call it the house sitter. Quite a number of years ago, my sister went on holiday. She used to go on long holidays to Italy, and she asked me to look after her house while she was away. So my job was to just feed the pets and water the plants and make sure everything was locked up okay. She also said I could use her exercise room, so I would go over and spend like half an hour on an exercise bike or something, do all the jobs and then leave. And I would go over like every day or every other day. I have a couple of nieces, and at the time they were just growing out of some of their baby-ish toys, and my sister had a tendency to put all of the toys that were no longer wanted into her garage. The garage was affixed to the house, affixed to some utility rooms where the exercise equipment was. About a week into my house sitting duties, I went in, and the house was quiet at first, and then all of a sudden I heard ding 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 ding. I heard like a children's nursery rhyme playing London Bridge is falling down, and it was coming from the garage, and I honestly nearly crapped myself. I thought, what the hell is that? What the hell is that? I thought somebody was in the garage. So I became brave and I opened the door and I went into the garage, and it was still playing all the time. I could see a plastic bag in the middle of the floor. It was full of toys, and I creeped over to the bag, and I bent over and I opened the bag up, and inside sorry, inside there was a children's toy, and it was one of those things that you press the buttons on and it plays the song. There was like 4 buttons that played different songs, and the buttons were that size. They had to be pressed in pretty far to make the tune come on. So I picked it up and it stopped, and I like looked around and I was like, what the hell just happened? I put the toy back and that was it really. Nothing else happened. When my sister got back from holiday, I said, listen, this is what happened. And I went in there and I looked at the toy and I said, maybe it was mice. I mean, I don't think it could have been mice. It would have to have been a rat to have pressed that in. I don't even think a rat would press it in. More like a badger or something could have pressed it in. And basically my sister and my brother-in-law, they just looked at me like, and they basically think that to this day they think I'm like, you know, it genuinely happened and I was really spooked by it. So what do you think about that? Do you think that it just was a malfunctioning kid's toy, or do you think there was a ghosty? Okay, my last story is not really creepy, but it's sort of weird. A couple of weeks ago I was walking. I like to walk places and explore woodland areas and stuff like that. So I wanted to go to this viaduct that I'd never been before, and it was way out in the woods, like quite a long walk, maybe 5 miles or something away from a car park. You know, you had to walk like the full 5 miles, and I didn't meet, oh no I did, I met one person on the way, one singular person I met, and I was just basically there with my camera having a bit of fun, goofing around as I usually do. The sun was shining one way on the viaduct. I took photos from behind and I took photos with the sun on the viaduct as well. And I took photos of myself looking around and photos of the graffiti and photos of myself jumping in the air and photos of myself dancing around the viaduct. And I thought nothing of it. It was a really remote place. There was sheep, there was standing stones. It was very like much stepping into the past. There was really old bricks from 1850s that were lining the path. I did kind of feel like I'd stepped into a past era a little bit. The viaduct is used. There were trains coming across maybe every 10 or 15 minutes, but that didn't take away from the atmosphere of me feeling like I was in the past. So when I got home, I looked at my pictures and I was zooming in, and I took the pictures on my DSLR camera. I'm no photographer, I'm afraid, but I try to take sort of atmospheric pictures that make me feel what I felt in the moment. So I was shooting into the sun on one side of the viaduct, and I captured a few things which just don't look right, or which my human brain or our human brains interpret as something. Perhaps they are not, or maybe they are. So the first thing is the sun glare on the pictures. A lot of people who are interested in folklore and things like this, they refer to the glare on the front of my picture as a fairy. Because if you have a look, I mean, it has like a body and it has wings and it looks like the shape of a fairy. I can see that, but I don't think that was anything else but the sun glare. However, there is something in the back of the photo which I found more interesting. When I zoomed in on it, I could see that there were lights in front of the viaduct, and I couldn't understand how that was when the sun was behind. When I zoomed right in, there was lights in the shape of what basically looks like Shrek. In my area of the world, we call them trolls, we call them gnomes, we call them dougars, we call them elves, I guess. This looks like a typical troll. When I showed this picture to a few people, they were absolutely convinced that it is a troll. So I went online and did a bit of research, and what I found was pretty interesting. Basically, a lot of information about trolls suggests that they are photographed. They are able to be photographed only when the sunlight is streaming through them, and they are sort of transparent in a way. And there is another theory that says that when sunlight hits a troll, they are made of stone. So either way, the shape of the troll and the fact that it seems to be outlined in sunlight makes a lot of sense to me. Now, my imagination has always been pretty wild. When I was like 5, I believed that I could see a tree spirit. I saw it. Yeah. That was just the start, I guess, but I understand that my imagination is a little bit more likely to ignite than some other people's imaginations. But however, this is photographic evidence. You can actually see this shape, and you can see the little horns, you can see the little nose, you can see the gruff mouth, you can see the arms, you can see the shape of the body. I'm pretty convinced, actually. How about you? If you've watched this video today and you like my stories, please leave a comment. I'd love to hear your own weird or creepy stories. I live for weird and creepy stories, basically. You can subscribe to this channel if you like, and you can also follow me on Twitter at @thevloglady, and hopefully I will see you soon. Bye!